What is up, everybody, and welcome to episode number 11 of The Edge. Starting this week, just so you guys know, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Instead of covering certain classes, which I'm sure we're still going to do quite frequently, we're also going to be covering a lot of WoW-related news. This is something that has Alex and I actually very excited. You can tell by her huge smile on her face that she has on right now. There you go. Okay, there it is. So for this episode, we're actually going to be covering the massive amount of information that was blogged out and tweeted out by Blizzard, specifically technical game designer Chad Nerving, known as Celestalon, and PvP designer Brian Holinka. He's also known as Holinka on Twitter. So,
nice and easy.
Nice and easy. So how you doing tonight? Before we get things kicked off here with all this information.
I'm good, thank you.
Cool.
How are you?
I'm good. I've been busy, still leveling stuff, still hanging out. This episode is gonna be really special considering this is gonna be the first time we're covering WoW-related news. So putting this episode together in terms of the show notes was really different, but it was exciting.
It was different
to kind of research a different style of show. So this has been fun and exciting.
Let me tell you, Sean is relieved that he doesn't have to understand classes he's never played.
This is actually very true. I am very excited.
Especially the stats.
Yeah,
they always confuse him.
Believe it or not, I don't play every single class in the game. I know, shocker. So
wow,
it is nice.
You call yourself a geek.
I know. Yeah, sorry. I'm only playing every other game under the sun and working full time. So and I'm an adult, so that's already sad enough to admit. But anyways, before we get started, there's something kind of serious that we want to talk about. Just to kind of to let it be known, I guess. We want to give our thanks to Twiz and the entire TwizCast crew for all the great shows and hard work you guys put together in every episode. If you haven't heard by now, which I'm sure you have if you're following BlizzPro, Twiz did announce last night that he was canceling TwizCast indefinitely. As much as this saddens us to hear, we understand and we respect his wishes. Twiz started with just a few listeners. He did grow his show into something very special, which got the attention of many, many new listeners and even Blizzard themselves. With a signature top 10 list and his amazing developer interviews, TwizCast will be greatly missed by all. Even though we will still be a part of the BlizzPro team, running some Hearthstone shows and doing developer interviews as they arise, we still wish you, Reb, Hoda, and Archon the best of luck in all your future endeavors. Thank you, sir.
And on that somber note, no, chat room, I don't have a guess for when the beta is coming out. I would assume soon. Trademark.
Yeah, there has actually been some rumors going around. One of them was who was it that was on Twitch earlier? Kungan was on Twitch earlier streaming Hearthstone, saying that he got a Warlords of Draenor beta key, and Lore came out within the hour and said no.
Nope.
And he squashed that rumor immediately and basically said if anyone has said they have received one, it is 100% a lie. They have not gone out yet. So, but there's a good chance that we, as a team, as BlizzPro, will be getting a Warlords beta when it does go out. So we'll make sure to give you that information as it's released. I'm sure that Alex will be writing a bunch of articles on the BlizzPro website, and I'm going to see if I can get my hands on one of the beta keys to go in and give you guys more of an in-depth, hands-on look. And I'll probably be streaming some of that stuff so you guys can check it all out. So.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. So what we're going to do today is, since we're not going to be talking about classes, we're actually going to be talking about all the Warlords of Draenor, water development, water cooler kind of stuff that was going around last week. I think it was last Thursday.
Can you imagine them talking by the water cooler about all this?
No.
They are doing more than just drinking water by the water cooler.
Well, this is actually interesting. Just real quick, I wanted to mention, I think it's really interesting how they're going about releasing information now, because normally they just send it out in one huge chunk, right? It's like somewhere between 25, 35 pages long, and we skip a lot of it. I mean, admit it. You do, I do, we all do. We just look for the things that we want to read, mainly pertaining to our specific class, and then we say to hell with the rest of it. So the way that they release this information is actually very interesting because they kind of were like an overall like, okay, listen, it's not just you that's getting affected; it's everybody that's getting affected. So this was actually a really cool way, I think, to introduce this information to the community.
Hmm.
So kind of hats off to Blizzard for switching it up a little bit. I think this is a good approach. Um, one of the first
Most
things,
definitely. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if you agree with that, but that's how I was, especially like with patch notes. Like if patch notes comes out,
Hmm.
I just read because my main was a rogue for a long, long time. I just go right to the rogue. Like what happened to the rogue? Okay, 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 done.
Yeah, well, I mean, you check out the general stuff, and then you go to your class or classes, the classes you're interested in, obviously. Like if you're like you and like most people that don't play every single class in the world of Warcraft, a lot of the stat um, patch notes might not even make much sense. So,
Right.
that's only natural.
Well, so
That was a deep
well,
sigh.
it's like there's just so much to talk about, and we're gonna try to get through this as fast as we can um, without trying to overload your brain. But I'm sure by now, since the information was released last Thursday, you guys have seen a lot of tweets that have gone out
Oh, I'm sure.
between Holinka and Celestalon and all these other developers and community managers. And other shows, of course, that have covered these things by now. But we're gonna do our take on it, give our opinions, and we're gonna
Hmm.
see kind of what comes from that. So first thing we're going to cover is stats and how stats are going to be changed in Warlords and what this means. So um, honestly, I think this is going to be really interesting, and I'm really excited about the squish. The item squish is going to happen. If you guys aren't familiar with that, basically what's going to happen is they're taking all of the gear that's really predominant and makes you very strong now, squishing it back down to about BC um, level, about end game, mid to end game BC um, damage and health and all that. I can tell you first off that I played the demo BlizzCon, and I did do an instance, and it wasn't like one of those, oh my god, what the hell's going on? I'm only doing like 30k crits. It doesn't feel like that at all. It's actually quite nice to have my character crit for 30k because it feels like I'm actually doing damage. Um, it may seem a little silly since the numbers are so out of control right now, and you're doing 450k or 600k crits. Um, but I assure you that the in game it feels really nice. And veterans of the game can attest to this because they know that back in the day when you would crit, that yellow number meant something. It's not like now where you're just seeing just numbers and numbers and numbers and numbers all over the place. It just you kind of have grown numb to it and you don't even realize you have. So taking a step back does feel kind of nice. Um, but keep in mind something that's really important here that Blizzard is going to do is they're going to focus a lot this next expansion on secondary stats, which include crit, haste, mastery, readiness, and multi-strike. Okay, um,
Mm.
we already know what crit, haste, and mastery do, but readiness and multi-strike I'll hit on real quick because there hasn't been a lot of information released on it yet, so we don't want to spend too much time on it. But the general overview is readiness is a cooldown reduction. So say you have a 3-minute cooldown and you would have, let's say, 200% readiness, it'd be down to a 1-minute cooldown. That's just giving you an example. It's probably not going to be that much, and you're probably not going to find readiness on that much gear. I don't believe that there's a soft or hard cap for this, but I don't believe it's also going to be something you're going to be going for either. You're not going to be trying to gem into readiness or reforge into or whatever into readiness. It's just
Mm.
not what's going to happen. So that's what readiness is, and then multi strikes is a chance to proc additional attacks.
It's like
Or
a version of a cleave because they're removing cleave, aren't they?
well, cleave is going to be yeah, but cleave is going to be there's amp and cleave that they were considering for secondary stats, and they actually chose readiness and multi strike over
Mm.
amp and cleave, and the reason why that was is because amp, if you guys don't know what that means, amp is basically short for amplify, and I know a lot of people for the trinkets, for the amplify trinkets, like for Mercius, for example, they
Mm.
gave you a base percent. I think for heroic it's 9%, and then I think for non-heroic it's like 7% or six
I
percent.
can't remember
I
right
can't.
now,
It's one of those
to
two.
be honest with you.
But either way, it gives you that base percentage, right? And then it
Hmm.
has a chance to amplify it even more. So if you're like, adds like one of them is like intellect, right? So like say you're a shadow priest, it already gives you say you get the heroic and it's 9%, you're already getting 9% intellect base, which is a lot, and then you're gonna have a chance to amplify it as well.
Mm.
So for a lot of characters, it's best in slot, and I think Blizzard want to get away from that kind of idea, so they've let that and the cleave, which is all the cleave is exactly what it you know it is you have a chance to hit additional targets, just to kind of let it fall by the wayside and to maybe rework it later, maybe later on as a unique ability, or maybe for a specific raid, or maybe even end game for warlords. We don't know yet. Um,
We don't
we
know.
don't know. So as you can see,
It's my northern English accent.
so what I'm gonna do is
Sorry, England.
I'm gonna bring up the as you can see, I'm gonna bring up the player power by level, and this is something that's actually really interesting to see kind of how we are gonna be evolving in this next expansion. If you can see, like right here between 80 and 85, you get this little blip, like okay, you're doing some damage. Between 85 and 90, starts going up a little bit. Then between 90 and 100, it's really going up there. According to this chart, I mean, you're going to be doing just almost incalculable damage. It's just going to be insane. So that's the reason why they're scaling this back down a little bit. Um, if you look at the very, very bottom, you can see that right around level 100, you're at peak right after level 100 and you start doing raids. It's about, like I said, the same as being endgame BC numbers. But a lot of people are freaking out about that, thinking they're not going to do a lot of damage, or that it's going to hurt them in the long run. But if you look at the creature health by level, this is the same exact thing. Look at these spikes in damage: 80 and 85, 85 and 90, 95, 90 to 95, and then 95 to 100. These player healths and the creature healths are just going insanely high. So they've dropped
Hmm.
this down as well to try to combat that, to make it so it's one of those things where you don't need a boss to have 5 billion health. Like you don't need that. You used to need that in the first couple expansions because you want to feel like you're growing or getting better or getting stronger. Like okay, that we get that. But now that they're gonna smooth this transition out all over the entire expansions, it's gonna feel like you don't even really feel like you're doing less damage because everything has a lot less health. So
It's just a percentage based decrease to everything. I
right,
mean, you're still going to be as powerful as you were. It's still going to feel as it's not it's not going to feel like you suddenly drop down to,
right,
leveling and wearing greens.
yeah,
Um, for me, I think this is a really good thing because admittedly, even though, I mean, I know, like I could just consider 5 billion to be 500. Um, but it's just the numbers are so big that they become abstract. It's really hard to grasp.
it
Um,
does, yeah.
it's just
They just become a blur on the screen, and
I
that's what I
don't
said earlier.
mind like say like early Wrath of the Lich King and you needed like 2k in order to get invited to a heroic dungeon run or whatever it was. As long as it's proportionate to what you're facing. So I think it's all for the good. This I'm very positive for feeling just I'm feeling a little bit like starting anew, starting afresh with
Well, and
this.
that's what people need to
Um,
realize. It's just, the squish is
it's
in no,
like
it's no way a
it's like
nerf,
nostalgia, but
but new.
better. Yeah, I don't know. It's ah,
Just people just
like
need to
Madonna
realize.
said, you made me all shiny and new, like a noob.
Well, people just need to realize that
That's the song, right?
yeah, I don't know. I've never listened to Madonna. Sorry, not my thing. I didn't grow up on that.
Yeah, you're not heard like a virgin, right?
I have heard that song.
Yeah.
I don't like willfully listen to that stuff. Anyways, people just need to realize you're just as powerful as you are before. Blizzard's just scaling back the numbers to make it a lot easier for you to process. That's all this
Mhm.
is, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, watching my character crit for like 500,000, um, is pretty awesome. Okay, but once Warlords is released, I think we can all agree that the damage squish was actually needed, and it will make the game more enjoyable. I promise. It's just you have to experience it, I mean, because people are going to freak out. I mean, people are going to go nuts over this, especially people that don't
Are they?
that don't watch stuff like this. There's a lot of us, it's hard for us to understand that because especially people that are watching and people that are watching the video, we watch this stuff. We like the news. We read the news. We want to know what's going on in the World of Warcraft. Like, there's gonna be players, Joe Schmo that's gonna log in one day and gonna go, what is going on? Like what happened on my health? I don't do any damage. And they freak out. So and that's what's gonna happen. And
You
that's what
think so?
I do think so. But I think that's why it
Yeah.
was a good move by Blizzard to post that stuff on WorldOfWarcraft.com because I don't think that a large percentage of the player base like goes and scouts around for news. I think they scout around for like different things like reforging or best of slot gear stuff like that. But in terms of like news and things that's coming out, I don't think that they care. I think that they just kind of like they feel like they don't have a lot of control. So because a large part of the WoW population they don't say anything. It's the small percentage that get what they want. They're the ones that bitch and moan and complain, and they're the ones that Blizzard caters to. We all know that. So I think that a good chunk of them just don't talk. So
Okay.
so that's that. That's that for stats. So big things to take away from that. Blizzard's focusing heavily on secondary stats, which again is crit haste, mastery, readiness, and multi-strike. The squish is not a nerf. It is a good thing. We promise you will enjoy the game. Stop being a baby. Stop it. Drive me nuts. My character sucks now. He only does 200k damage. It's like if you're doing 200k damage at level 100, that's pretty awesome. Because you won't be. You will not be. You are not prepared.
Oh, and here comes the quotes.
It's BC time. We're going back to BC.
To be honest with you, I mean, you must have done like below 1k damage in BC, weren't you?
You're doing like 1500, I mean, you're doing more than that now. I mean, because the way that's, well, it depends on which part of BC you're talking about. I mean, you're talking about like beginning, end, middle, if you're,
Yeah, because I'm just thinking like when I started playing in the beginning of Wrath, those were still the numbers for an ordinary heroic dungeon.
yeah, I mean, you're gonna be hitting,
Some,
if you're well geared, you're gonna be hitting somewhere between crits would probably be like around like 70k, 80k.
yeah,
You know what
so
I mean?
so kind of technically we're going back to beginning of Kata.
Not quite. Not quite that far. Like our health pools won't quite be that large.
No, maybe, but that like damage wise.
Damage wise, it will be a little bit before that. Like I said, we're gonna be between like 75 and like 78 or somewhere in there. Like we're not gonna be quite 80 kind of gear. Like it's gonna be like right before that. So at least
Okay.
that's from what I've read and the tweets that have gone out and my
hmm
understanding of them. So of course,
I will see, I guess.
well that's the
I
thing.
mean,
It's all
I
subject to
also
change.
did get to try the the playable um, version when I went to DreamHack,
Yeah.
and
So you know.
it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, you don't feel it. Like that's what I'm saying. Like that's
Uh,
what people don't realize yet is that you think it's gonna be a big deal because you're not doing this damage, but you don't realize that like the damage that's on the screen. Like if you see 40k crit, it's still gonna do that damage. If you watch the boss's life in terms of percentage, like it does the same. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's just the numbers aren't as big because they're more meaningful. I'm telling you, like
Mm.
it will mean more. This doesn't make sense to say it, I know, but it will mean more for a smaller number crit than it will mean for a larger number crit
Yeah.
because you've
No, I
desensitized yourself
totally
to it.
agree. I think like
It's
I'm
more
gonna get
intimate.
into this when I talk about, the ability squish or whatever we want to call it, the ability pruning.
Hmm.
Um, how I think all of this, when it comes down to it, is about to make the game more understandable,
Hmm.
but also more meaningful. Um, and speaking of that, uh, let's talk about ability pruning,
Sure.
shall we?
Yeah.
Um, well, yeah. So, as they said in their blog, they are pruning their garden. And what that means is that they are
So stupid.
dealing with what's commonly known as ability bloat.
Sure.
They're bringing out the garden trimmer and they're going to be cutting away, rearranging, and reshaping, the abilities as we know them today. And in plain text, that means that they're removing some abilities and cooldowns and some passives as well, just to get rid of all that spellbook clutter and, bars that are overflooded and, a gazillion keybinds.
Which, of course, some people are already freaking out about.
Other abilities, they might just restrict to a few classes. They might also merge certain abilities or passives or cooldowns together in order to simplify the gaming experience, to make it easier for players to understand the game. Um, and now, they're not, and this is really important to note, dumbing down the game. Like, I'm sure we will be hearing this term
A lot.
a lot, yeah. Um, as far as the gameplay will still be in depth, skill will still matter. Blizzard feels that they can achieve all this without, um, the the ability complexity that's in the game today. And I'm prone to agree with this. Like I said before, this is just another step they're taking that goes like hand in hand with the item squish and the removal of reforging. Um, Basically they state in their blog that players are feeling overwhelmed and feel that they need dozens of keybinds in even in some rare cases hundreds. Like that's insane. How do you even remember 100 keybinds? I don't
On
know.
one character.
I don't know.
But I
And
mean, well, the way
what
that,
they want to do is to remove some of the unnecessary complexity, basically.
well, right. Well, and what that basically means is like, say you're in, in PvP, and I know this is runs rampant in PvP, is macros, right? You need macros. If you don't play with macros in PvP,
Yeah.
you're bad. Okay, that's just the way it is. And
Hmm.
and it's not so much like the only reason you need the macro is because you need to be able to hit all these abilities at once. So why not just take those abilities and combine them into one ability?
Hmm.
Like it's not
Yeah.
whoa, it's not like I just shocked the world. I mean, that's what you're already doing. So
Yeah.
if you're already doing it, why is it such a big deal that Blizzard is just like, okay, like, this two abilities, we're just gonna make it a passive for you, and then these
Mm.
other two abilities, we're just gonna combine it together because you're gonna use them at the same time anyways.
Mm.
It's,
Um,
it's the exact same thing.
exactly. And one of their goals with this is also to remove cooldown stacking, which will also in turn help them achieve the whole, pruning their garden of war.
Right.
um,
Such what a
uh,
dumb expression. God, I hate that. Makes me feel
really?
ashamed every time I hear it. I'm like, it just makes me feel like I don't know. I think they could have used better.
Uh, I think it
Nameology.
describes it well. But yeah, in cases where a class respect have multiple cooldowns, that they usually use them together anyway in a single macro. They, like you said, they merge them or remove them completely. And I'm all for this. Look at some classes today, like hunters or shamans, especially. Um, they have so many abilities. I get cross-eyed just thinking about it. Um, like I literally do not have enough space on my bars, room on my bars, or neither my hunter nor my shaman. Um, I think it's absolutely possible to reduce the amount of abilities and still make the game feel meaningful. Like I said, I think it can add meaning to it because, like you say, like big numbers stop meaning anything, and too many abilities they also stop meaning things. And if you squish everything together in macros, like you stop even remembering what's in the macro. Some,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I mean, if you look at Diablo, yes, there are plenty of abilities, but you can only use like how many is it? 5 plus 2 or something,
7 or
7
6.
something. I don't remember at the moment,
6.
but and that gameplay still feels meaningful. It's fun and engaging.
What makes you
Um,
make choices?
yeah.
What are you
Um,
sacrificing for what? Like what build are you going for? What are you ultimately trying to accomplish here? Whereas WoW, it's like here's a whole bunch of abilities for certain situations, and even others very specific situations that you
yeah.
can't forget about. Don't forget about that. Like it is silly, and it just needs to happen. It absolutely needs to happen. This
Mm.
game is so old. It's been out for so long now, and it's just been content patch after content patch of adding this, removing that, adding this, changing that. It's
And the
time
thing is that
to
they've
be cleaned
added
out.
more than they've removed, though.
That's the thing.
So,
Yeah,
like,
and it's like your closet. After
yeah,
winter, like it's spring cleaning time. Let's get rid of this crap
yeah,
we don't
it's
need
just,
anymore.
it's like my closet. Like,
Yeah,
all the clothes are on the floor, and the pile just keeps growing.
yeah. See, it's exactly the same.
Needs, yeah.
Got to get rid of
Um,
some of those clothes.
yeah, but no, but spring cleaning is a good metaphor for it, definitely. And it's a good timing too, seeing as it's March. Um, I do think also that it might remove because they did state that some abilities they might make specific for just certain classes, and that's something that they've are quite the opposite from what they've done before. Whereas they like now most of the classes are quite streamlined in a way. Half the classes can provide like hero or I mean I don't think that you should be forced to have a class in your raid team in order to be able to raid. Like
Right.
that would be that's not what I'm saying, but I think that they
Well,
are.
I mean, that's the way it is now.
Pardon?
I mean, that's the way it is now. You need certain classes to raid.
Not really.
I mean, imagine not having Bloodlust, Heroism, or Time Warp.
Oh, ancient hysteria. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There's really um um usually not an issue because you tend to have one of those
Well, right.
classes.
Well, until the
Um,
changes.
whereas
Like Stone Lash, like the what is it, Stone Lash or whatever it is,
Stormlash
Storm Lash
token.
Stone. Yeah, I mean they're getting rid of that. Stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
But they're not getting rid of hero, I don't
nope,
think.
no.
So,
Hanging on to that.
but what I was trying to say is I think that they are making the classes a little bit more individual again and feeling a little bit more unique.
I hope so.
And
It's definitely lost that over the years.
yeah, I mean, there's certainly been an improvement in giving similar abilities to many classes, but it's also removed a little bit of what feels special about your class. So I hope that this will balance things out a little bit.
The next
Yeah.
thing we're gonna hit is racial changes, and my God, there's a lot to talk about. So I'm gonna try to fly through this as fast as I can. Um, but as you guys know, racials have always played a huge role in both PvE and PvP. Blizzard wants to fix that by making some of the racials a little less powerful and buffing others. Basically, they don't want all the orcs and trolls raiding and all the humans doing all the PvP. Pretty much how it is currently. Um, but we're gonna start with.
That's
It's very true. It's true.
well, slightly a generalization, but I get what
Look at the
I
numbers.
understand what you're getting
You
at.
go look at the numbers.
Okay, I'll look at
If
the
you go look
numbers.
at any like progressive high end guild, their horde, they're winning. They're downing bosses faster, and they're mainly orcs and trolls in the raid. Blizzard knows this. They know it, and that's why the troll got hurt, and this is why I'm angry about the orcs. But we'll get to that in just a second. Um,
Sean is very angry about the
I am very
orcs,
angry about this.
guys.
We're gonna start with the alliance actually. So we're gonna see what Blizzard has decided to change with the alliance. With the Draenei, heroic presence has been redesigned. It no longer increases hit by 1%, but instead increases either strength, agility, or intellect scaling with your character level. So this is actually a really nice buff for them. Having 1% increase in 3 major stats, and also with Gift in the Naru is down 10 seconds, so you heal over 5 seconds rather than 15. So this doesn't seem bad to me at all. This is really good for people that play that class, or excuse me, that race. Um, and there's really no downturn to any of those two things. That's a major buff for that
I
race.
am so glad they're removing hit.
Yeah,
You have no
yeah,
no idea.
that's something else that we can
It's just
be happy
yeah.
about. For
I am happy.
the
I play a lot of Jedi characters.
for the dwarf, they're getting rid of crack shock because obviously expertise is going out of the game.
Mhm.
Um, Mace specialization is gone, since again expertise is out of the game, but it's being replaced with Might of the Mountain, which is a new passive ability that increases critical strike, damage, and healing by 2%. That's huge, okay? Now,
I
Stormform
like
also
that.
removes magic and curse effects in addition to what it does now, which is poison, disease, and bleed effects, along with damage reduction of 10% for 8 seconds. Now, crackshot being removed was expected, since Blizzard is removing expertise, hit, and all that stuff in Warlords.
Mm.
But I feel as though the passive 2% increase crit for damage and healing is actually quite nice. You're going to see a lot more dwarves now running around in raids specifically. That 2% is a lot. 1% is pretty good. 2% is awesome. So also having stone form remove magic and curse effects is huge. Huge, huge, huge. I'll actually be very interested to see how that plays out specifically in PvP. Um,
Mm.
Especially for the shamans. They do have a lot of, they can take off a lot of things except for magic and curses. So that's
Yeah.
something to keep in mind is, people are going through playing PvP and PvE and seeing how that starts to take shape.
Yeah.
With the gnomes, expansive mind now increases your maximum mana, energy rate, energy, rage, and runic power by 5% instead of just hitting on mana. Escape artist has gone down a little bit for the cooldown, and short blade specialization obviously is gone because the expertise is no longer there. But it does get replaced with a passive called nimble fingers, which sounds kind of funny. That increases your haste by 1%.
Mm.
Um,
So they are even quicker at pickpocketing.
yeah.
Just
Um,
like a little known rogue pickpocketing, kicking you in the shin and running away. It's great.
Expensive Mind, it now hits more classes, which is a good improvement. And Escape Artist cooldown reduction is obviously a welcome buff in the PvP environments. The 1% haste is okay, but I'm not crazy excited about that. That's not something that, um, haste has always been one of those stats up until, maybe up until Warlords that hasn't been very exciting except for a very few classes. So, and
Tends
specific
to be
specs,
really good for casters and healers
right? But even then, it's very like,
and paladins.
it's never like go for haste. You know,
Sure,
like,
there is.
well, I'm not saying like, I'm just saying like you. It's always like your main stat and then something else like mastery, your secondary stat, and then it's like haste. You know, it's always like third or fourth
Uh,
down the line. It's never like first or second. Very
yes, it
rarely.
is.
Yeah, but very rarely. But it's not.
I feel we're not playing the same game. What
It's
is
just.
wrong?
I'm no. I'm just saying like it's not. I'm just saying it's not as, say, like, I mean, your main stats like strength, intellect, agility, like obviously those things always take priority to everything else. Okay, but almost always after that, it's going to be something like, mastery or crit. You know what I mean? I just don't think haste is one of those things that's crazy important as a universal thing. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just me. I mean, it could be from all the classes that I've played. That's just how I am.
Yeah,
I've
I
never
think
seen the
so.
haste as an exciting stat. So, um, humans. This one's actually going to be really interesting.
Awkward silence.
Um, oh, sorry, I was catching back up on my notes. Mace specialization and sword specialization has all been removed because of
Everything
the,
with expertise is
yeah,
gone. We can just
yeah. It's just been removed.
shelf that.
Um, Human spirit has been redesigned. This is kind of interesting. It no
Hmm.
longer increases your spirit by 3%, but it does allow you to invest in two secondary stats by scaling with your character level. So you do
That
have to
is
pick two stats
beautiful.
though. You can't pick like the same stat twice, right?
No.
So say you wanted like if like I don't know, readiness is something that you wanted. You can, and say if
Hmm.
it's a 0.5% each, bonus you can add. You can't add both 0.5% into readiness. It has to be like readiness and crit, or readiness and haste or whatever.
Hmm.
But it is interesting. Um,
It's a little, yeah. I mean, they're still keeping a little bit of the kind of reforging mentality here,
mhm.
but much more simplified and much cheaper.
Yeah. I don't even know. Like it's Blizzard has seemingly been taking like specific choices away from the player as time goes on.
Hmm.
Between the talent trees being simplified and the min-maxing almost all but being abolished in Warlords. It's interesting to see that they've brought this into the game. Um, Maybe they haven't decided to completely take a little optimization away from the player base. Maybe they think that that's a good thing for players that really want it, but not making it such an overpowered thing where it's a necessity. Um, but it's interesting. Something else that's worth noting is that the staple of PvP for humans, specifically every man for himself racial, is under evaluation.
Hmm.
So what exactly does that mean?
Dun dun dun
We do not know.
dun.
You know, hopefully they'll release some information on that soon. I'm sure Holinka will probably be the one that's going to release that information because he is the PvP guy over there that will be most likely tweeting out that stuff since that seems to be their new method of communication,
Yeah.
which is fun.
When he's not trying to get out of jury duty by saying the PvP as a World of Warcraft needs him. It's just a tweet I read.
I,
Such
I
a
don't
funny
think
tweet.
that worked. Um, Night Elf is this is something else too that's not going to make it to live. Is Touch of a Loon, which is their new passive ability, which increases haste by 1% at night and crit by 1% during the day. So it does matter whether you're playing the game at night or during the day. That's terrible.
This
Um,
is, I have to say that like what like the whole point of changing the racial abilities is to, bring up the low useless ones and lower maybe the overpowered ones and getting everyone something useful along like the same baseline.
this is not
That's
useful.
that's how I understand it. And then they do something like this. I mean, it's fun in theory, but like in practice, what is the point?
This is bad.
I can't say that I'm particularly excited about this.
I can tell you for certain, this will not make it into live. I will
You
tell you
don't
that
think
with
so?
100% certainty. It is not going to make it into live. There's no
Okay, guys, he's
way.
made a prediction.
There's no way. There's no way.
What what
Um,
what do I get if it makes live?
I don't know. We'll figure. You get to figure that out. I guess
Okay, you can
you figure that out.
buy me a digital pet.
Okay, that's what I'll do. I do want to mention
Uh,
quickness now. It does increase your movement speed by 2%,
mhm.
in addition to increasing your dodge chance as well. So, the 2% movement speed is nothing special compared to the Touch of a Loon passive, which is going to get everyone's attention. Um, I can see that Blizzard wants to shake things up, make it a little bit more interesting, but honestly, I'm telling you, I can't see this making it to live servers until it's at very least reworked in some way. Imagine all the players who only play at night and want the 1% crit, or vice versa. You know, in a time where raid schedules are pretty set in stone, it's going to cause major havoc among the player base. It just is. It's just one of those things that have to shift around. I mean, imagine having to shift around because of someone being late or being stuck in traffic, or someone has a newborn baby and they have to go take care of it. I mean, we get it, life happens, okay. But having to completely rework a raid schedule due to a single buff, yeah,
I don't.
good luck with
To
that.
be honest with you, I mean, I doubt anyone would, but you know, some WoW players are
The 1% makes a difference.
taking it to the extreme.
Yeah, and people
However,
will do
it's
it.
just I just feel like the haste buff is never gonna get like not used because it's gonna be active, but it's not gonna have any big effect
See,
on
like,
say
see, I don't
the
think.
the players because they're like when if usually you play by night.
Well, that the haste is the one by night. Haste is 1% at night, and crit's the one by day. So that's what I'm
Okay,
saying. Like
never
Chris,
mind.
like no one's gonna use the
Doesn't
crit one.
Okay, no one's gonna use the crit one.
Yeah, like no one. Like who the hell
Um,
raids it during the day?
well, there are day
Well, that's
raid
another
teams that
exactly.
but there
Well,
are
that's another
very
problem.
few.
What if I were to raid on your servers on EU?
Hmm.
It's night here, day there. Well, okay, is it? It must be server time that they
It is server
base this
side,
on,
I'm
right?
sure.
So
Yeah.
it's your server time. So now am I gonna have to play on an EU server just to get the buff that I want? Like, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Already you can see the problem. This is crazy. This is
Well,
silly.
basically, it's just going to be
It's not
one
gonna work.
of the buffs that goes, unused,
This will
so
be
to
reworked.
speak.
It will be reworked. The Worgen Dark Flight speed boost is remaining unchanged. Obviously, Blizzard is happy with the Worgen the way it is, and as of now, nothing is changing. So that wraps up
Same with the
the Alliance.
Pandaran. I love
Yeah,
Pandaran.
yeah, they're
Mm.
not changing either. I mean, they're the newest race. You got to figure they put a lot more time and uh, and strategy into
I do
that.
feel
But
like they've modeled a lot of the new racials after the Vorgon one. Feels like they are quite similar to
I wish
that.
they would just do what Star Wars did and give every single race a PvP trinket. Okay, and other than that, it's either like cosmetic or something that like has nothing to do with progression, with a bonus like either to your stats or to movement speed. Like it's very does not matter. But everyone gets a PvP trinket, so it does not matter. You don't get punished for a race that you play. You can play anything you want. That's so
Mm,
fair. It makes sense. It's very simple. But Blizzard can't do
yeah.
that. I don't know why.
Well, we'll see what they do with the remand for himself, though. I
Yeah.
mean, if they
I'm
rework
interested
it,
to
then
see.
it might not be, you might not be able to use it as a PvP trinket in
Yeah.
the way that you have. And then you kind of bring most of the people to a level, to the same level, I guess.
Yeah.
Sort of.
So that's all the alliance stuff. Um, so on the Horde
Blood
side,
elves.
yeah, Blood Elves is the first one we're gonna start with. Arcane Torrent now restores 20 runic power for Death Knights, up from 15. One holy power for Paladins, or 3% mana for Mages, Priests, Locks. And then everything else about the ability stays the same, whether it's mana or energy regenerations, the interrupt, that kind of stuff. So,
Hmm.
um, the other one is Arcane was a Acuity,
Acuity?
Acuity. There we go. It's their new radical passive ability that increases crit chance by 1. I mean, there you go. There's your guaranteed
It's the
crit.
same as the Vorgon one,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. It's
Mm.
like you want your guaranteed crit, and you have to play at a certain time of day. Well, switch to Horde and play Blood Elf. There you go. um, honestly, though,
Or just avoid playing Night
I feel like this
Elves.
and it's actually the gnomes. I think what we're thinking of they're very similar.
Mhm.
It kind of seems lazy by Blizzard, in my opinion. Um,
Oh?
I think it does. I just think that they didn't give it enough thought. I think at 1% crit chance it's okay, but I think that they could have maybe done something a little bit different. I'm not really sure what, but I just don't think that that quite fits. Um, I just think that they could have done a little bit better with this. That's just me. I hate being the person that brings problems and not solutions, but um, I just think that they could have done better with their entire. I mean, I'm just one person. They have a team of hundreds, so you could do better. Goblin doesn't really change a lot. Time is money now grants 1% increase to haste, up from only attack speed and spell haste, so it's guaranteed. Remember, they're getting rid of that specific stuff, so it's just 1% straight haste. Not really much to say. It's just 1% haste. So if you like haste, there you go. Orc. This is the one that really irritates the bejesus
Here
out of
we
me.
go.
Okay, so they are obviously getting rid of axe specialization, which is important to note because this is this along with Blood Fury is what makes this class race. If you want to say class, I'm so used to covering classes. So what makes this race strong is the
Mhm.
combination of the two. Now they are getting a nerf a little bit with the stun effects of hardiness down by 5%. It was
Mhm.
15, now it's down to 10. The duration of stun effect is reduces by 10%. Um, Okay, so same with humans and dwarves. The removal of the axe specialization was no surprise. Really wasn't. What is a surprise is the nerf to hardiness
No.
by 5% and the fact that Blood Fury is unchanged. I cannot believe that they would not change this. Although it was initially reported, something else to keep in mind, it was initially reported and confirmed by Celestion that command was to be unchanged. Celestion did just tweet out about 12 hours ago, and I quote, "We're still evaluating command. There's a very valid concern that it may be too strong, but aren't sure of the right solutions yet."
Hmm.
So to see how quickly things change, 3 days ago he said command is staying exactly how it is. It's not being changed. 12 hours 12 hours ago he tweets that out. Um, but honestly, it's really too bad that Blizzard doesn't share the same view on Blood Fury, because you have to assume that Blizzard knows Blood Fury is really strong for orcs. Like I said earlier, just look at most of the high-end raiders. A lot of them either play Orc or Troll due to their racials. So how's Blood Fury is going unchanged is really surprising to me. The entire point of these changes were to make other races playable and practical. Yet a 5% nerf to hardiness it's not going to deter people from playing Orc when Blood Fury remains so powerful. It's just not. So hopefully that's something that they take a look at. I doubt it will be, but I just think that um, the only thing that would make it so maybe people don't play Orc as much is not having that 1% expertise attached to the axes anymore.
Mhm.
And it may switch people around a little bit to another race, but we'll see. If command gets changed too, we got to see what command gets changed to, because I mean everyone's going to be an Orc hunter if command doesn't stay changed, obviously. But if it does, then there you go.
I won't.
Well, you won't.
I'll still be a Draenei hunter
uh,
because horns and hoofs and tail and stuff.
this is so big. You just like the big mounts, don't you?
Pardon?
The big mounts, like everything's bigger on Torrens. All the gear is bigger. And
Torrents?
we're,
I'm talking about
uh,
Draenei.
oh yeah, that's right. You are. I'm
I don't,
I'm like reading my notes ahead of you, and I'm covering Torrens next. By the way, in case you didn't know.
right, let's go to Taurens. They also have horns and hoofs and tails,
It's
but
true.
they're not nearly as cute as Draenei.
Mm.
Just saying.
Brawn is gonna be the new passive ability that increases crit bonus damage and healing done by 2%. And endurance now increases stamina by amount scaling with a character level instead of base health, because there are going to bring things like increase base health by 5%, which is what it was, or increase base mana pool by whatever. They're getting rid of all that. So I think Brawn is a great buff for Torrens. In my opinion, this opens up the player base to choose to play something more than just a tank when they choose Torrent, which is what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Especially with
No,
progressing
that is
builds.
quite usual.
Yeah,
It's true.
the 2% crit bonus for damage and healing is going to go a long way, especially in progression. So endurance is again basically the same. It's just they're just scaling it to your level since they're getting rid of the base health. Okay, another one that really irritates me is the troll. Now, the troll got nerfed into the ground. Now, a lot of people, I was actually kind of arguing with one of my friends about this earlier before I started the show in game, and here's what's going on with the trolls. Berserking now increases haste by 15, so it's down from 20, so that got nerfed. Beast slaying now increases XP earned from killing beasts by 20% instead of increasing damage dealt versus beasts by 5%. That's a nerf. A lot of people are gonna say, well, why is that a nerf? Well, okay, here's the reason why it's a nerf. Because it's either really great or it's useless. Okay? It's really great in the early parts of TOT, right? People were exploiting that the beast slaying did huge damage. It was great for the early parts of TOT, and now you have where it's going to be completely useless. Outside of leveling, that's going to be completely useless. But the point is it needs to be reworked where everything is viable. That's not viable. Yeah, it was really great in that specific part of TOT. It was awesome. That was it. Okay. And then Deadeye obviously has been removed. So Blizzard decides to completely nerf Berserking. I want to say the 5% is pretty much a complete nerf. And then Beast Slaying.
Complete.
That's what I'm going to say. That's how angry I am about it.
It's a quarter of a nerf.
Nope. It's complete. And
Okay.
then Beast Slaying to anything outside of leveling is going to be worthless pretty much.
I'm a little unsure on that one, actually.
Why?
Well,
Beast
I agree with you.
Your XP by killing beasts by 20%.
I mean, I agree with you. I'm unsure why you would want one of those.
Well, exactly. Like, why would you want that in raiding?
Well, not everything is about raiding, obviously, but leveling is something you do during a very limited period of time.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, it has
which
no
is
use
the
to
problem.
you outside of leveling.
No, exactly.
It's pointless. So, I mean, clearly you can see that Blizzard thinks the troll ratios are very overpowered. Because
they are.
They are, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But Blizzard did nothing to remove Blood Fairy from orcs. Surprise, surprise. So it's very interesting to see, like, why they made these decisions. Hopefully that's something that they'll come out and clarify a little bit more. Because I think that the trolls just got smacked around and the orcs lost their 1% expertise, and that's pretty much it. So, Undead Will Forsaken cooldown has been increased to 3 minutes, up from 2. I really don't know how I feel about it, about the increase. Something I was thinking about too is if Blizzard was looking at reworking Every Man for Himself, why not just increase that to 3 minutes? It's the same thing.
They have different kinds of cooldowns, as far as I understand it, interacting with the PvP trinket.
Right. I mean, I know it shares, but I mean.
Yeah, Every Man for Himself does. I'm not sure Will of the Forsaken does. Does it?
I think it does. It does. With a couple other things, I'm not exactly sure what it does, but it does. But what I'm saying is, like, if you're gonna rework Every Man for Himself and make it so it's like, let's just hypothetically say they make it so it's something completely different, right? Doesn't matter what it is. Just it doesn't do what it does now, and yet they keep Will of the Forsakens exactly how it is right now. So they just keep
Mm.
it. They increase the duration by 1 minute, so it's a 3 minute cooldown. I mean, you've just basically told people go play undead now. Go PvP as undead. That's what you just told me. You know, because you know how this player base is. I mean, they're gonna find the quickest, fastest, cheapest way to do what they were already doing. That's kind of the way it works. You know, and that's what they'll do. They'll say, okay, well, fine. I can't use every man for himself. I'll just go play undead. Done. Same thing. Except it's 1 minute longer. Boo hoo. That's I don't know. That's what I think. So that is as fast as I could possibly do every single racial change.
That's what it was.
It was a lot. So
A lot of rage
a lot of
about the
rage.
orcs and the trolls.
I cannot believe it's already almost been an hour. It's crazy.
I know.
Uh,
Well, we have one thing to talk about a little quickly, and it's basically just about cooldowns and diminishing returns. Um, what they said in the blog is that what they've, you know, got from Mr. Pandara is that there is simply too much crowd control at the moment, especially when it comes to PvP, obviously. And to address that, they have, you know, done some changes, made some changes. They removed silent effects from interrupts. Silence effects still exist, but they're not attached to an
which is
interrupt.
awesome.
Yeah, they removed all disarms, which makes me really sad because I really like with my monk just grapple, see the weapon come flying towards me. It's so satisfying. They reduced that amount of the number of diminishing return categories. All routes now share the same diminishing return category, with the exception of routes that on charge abilities that doesn't have any, but they have a very short cooldown instead. Duration, sorry. All stuns now share the same category. All incapacitate, also known as mesmerize, you know, those succubus effects now share the same diminishing returns category and have been merged with horror as well.
Yeah, the warlocks are gonna suck in PvP now.
I don't think they're gonna suck.
It's like
It's
you can't just let your succubus out and just let it do whatever it wants.
they still have fear.
That's still gonna be terrible.
Yeah, and they've removed the ability to make cast time CC instant with cooldowns, like say Nature's Swiftness or similar. And they've removed a lot of the CC spells entirely as well, or increased the cooldowns and restrictions on others. This is what I like the most. Cyclone can now be dispelled by immunities and mass dispel.
Yeah, it's about time. I mean,
Finally!
Cyclone.
Oh my
There's
god.
nothing you can do about that, and that is just
Like,
the
I don't
worst.
care about anything the rest here. It's just the cyclone thing made me so incredibly happy.
Well, especially because the druid could just like chain Cyclone you too, which is just
Yeah, and I mean, it was subject to diminishing returns, but it wasn't in any category with others, I don't believe.
no,
So,
and you couldn't get healed while you're being cycloned.
really?
Really?
Wow, I haven't PvP'd enough, apparently.
Yeah, like that's a big deal now. Like that you can. Plus, it works with your new PvP trinket
Mm,
since the PvP trinket is changing.
yeah. No, it's just I am so happy about this. It's just I can die happy now. Die happy on the arena floor.
Yeah, for people that do a
Just
lot of
getting
PvP,
stomped.
this is awesome. For people that do a lot of PvPing as druids, this sucks.
Mm.
But it's gonna make you get better. It's gonna make you stop casting Cyclone constantly. It's not saying that Cyclone's gonna be bad now, because that's not true at all.
It's still
It's still
good, and
gonna
I
be
mean,
good.
mass dispel. It's just priest that has that.
Yeah.
I mean, immunities, yes. Um,
But you're gonna force
and
that player to pop their trinket.
yeah,
That's what you're doing.
but I mean, that is a nice way of strategizing when you're in the arena, in my opinion. Whereas, oh, okay, I've cycloned again. I'll just hang out here for a while then, shall I?
Yeah, this is nothing to do. Yeah,
That is
it's
that
really
is
boring.
basically what it is. PvP trinkets now grants immunity to reapplication of an effect from the same spell cast when they break abilities with persistent effects like Solar Beam. So Halika tweeted about this and he says, "This is for Solar Beam and Fists of Fury, not Polymorphs and Fears."
Right.
Um, which it was a little vague, I guess. And long fears are now shorter in PvP as well, due to the added benefit of a fear changing the player's position.
Yeah, they're down to 6 seconds instead of 8.
Hmm.
So that's nice because
And 6 seconds is still
still 6 is
a
still a long
long
time.
time in the arena.
Especially now that if Holinka said that the polymorph and fear don't go with the
Hmm.
PvP trinkets, like that sucks because like if you get a full fear and you pop your trinket, you get full feared again for 6 seconds. So that's interesting to see how that works out. But yet you can break out of it for Cyclone, and it does grant immunity to the reapplication of Cyclone. Now I'm not exactly sure for how long though. That's the thing. I don't think we know that yet, do we? Have they come up with that information yet? How long the immunity lasts for?
No, I don't know.
I don't
I've
think they've come up
I've
with that
not
yet.
seen
I
it.
haven't read anything, so that would be a good question to ask,
Mm.
and maybe they'll come up with is how long that the immunity is granted for, versus the cooldown of the PvP trinket.
Mm.
Should it be used
Oh,
for multiple
also
charges?
big
Maybe.
news for hunters. Pet cast CC is more limited and in many cases removed,
Yeah,
which is kind of interesting because
that's
you can
bad for
have
hunters and
like
mages and warlocks.
a spider like root you automatically. You don't even have to push a button if you don't want to.
Yeah, I mean that's the same
Uh,
thing with the succubus, like silencing people. Like that doesn't do anything.
yeah,
The
with the
warlock doesn't do
mesmerize.
anything. Yeah, it's just like
Mm.
you have your succubus out, oh you're silenced. Okay, like that takes no skill. You know, and you're talking about dumbing the game down. That's dumbing the game down. And getting rid of that is better for everyone. So
Yeah. Well, we'll see which ones have been removed. It doesn't clarify that
yeah,
yet.
things are
So,
gonna change so much.
oh
Um,
yeah, I'm sure everything we've just said is probably subject to change as time goes by. I mean, we're not even in the beta yet, even though, you know, we're
it will
probably
be
getting
out soon, I'm
soon.
sure.
Hmm.
You gotta figure Warlords is at least 5 or 6 months away since they haven't done beta yet. But once beta hits, it doesn't take long. Usually a couple months.
Yeah, I think like the past two betas have been like 5 or 6 months long.
Yep.
So,
That's gonna be interesting to see when they release it. Because they have Diablo 3 coming out soon, and then they got the Heroes of the Storm Alpha, that's gonna be coming out, so people are gonna be wanting to get their hands on the alpha for that. And then Legacy of the Void for StarCraft 2 should be coming out sometime this year, even though they haven't talked about it. You gotta figure that's
yeah.
gonna be coming out
I mean,
at some
Hearthstone
point.
is gonna go out to
Hearthstone's
beta.
coming out pretty soon, and
Yeah.
now they got the expansion for World of War. I mean, Blizzard's painting themselves into a corner here because it's good that they want to try to almost take a monopoly on these PC gaming, but they got to be careful about when they release all this stuff. I mean, if they overlap their releases, you're gonna have what happened before, where people are choosing: do I play StarCraft or do I play Diablo? Do I play StarCraft or do I play WoW? You can't do all of them, and I know that from sales numbers, from stuff that we've seen in the past from Blizzard, is that they very rarely will release things during the summer because that is terrible numbers for them because everyone is going outside. People are going camping and hiking and they want to go swimming and they
Even geeks.
even geeks, yeah, want to go outside and play.
Have you
So
seen my complexion?
yeah, I know it's a really nice monitor tan you have there.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Very, very white, unfortunately.
But it is true.
Not much
It is true.
sunshine.
And you got to figure that, especially with WoW, even though they might have, what do they have, what now, 7 million active subscribers, I think? A lot of those,
The
somewhere in there.
last numbers that they released were close to 8,
Okay.
like 7.8, I
Most of
think.
those people, I guarantee, are still casual players. I'd probably
Mm.
say, what do you think? Maybe like 60% are casual?
I wouldn't dare, I guess. I don't think.
Okay, I'm gonna guess like 60% because that's why LFR is such a big thing now, and I mean people just they want something to do during the winter months. If you don't live like where I live, where we get snow like once a winter and it's gone the next day, you can't. It's a pain in the ass to go outside. Shovel and wear 9 layers and can't do anything, and it's cold and it sucks. And it's dark.
Have you?
I have lived in a place. I used to live in Maine, which is pretty shitty. So
Mm.
gonna say
Yeah.
them. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah.
No, no. But anyway, to kind of wrap this up again, I think um, if there's anything to take away from this, it is how they are aiming to make the game more understandable yet more meaningful. And I think they are well on their way. I mean, there are details everywhere that you might, think disagree with or have a different opinion about. But I think on a whole, I feel pretty excited. Feels shiny and new, like I said before.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. Um, there's a very good chance a lot of these things will change. There's also a very good chance that they're going to add in a lot of these things, a lot of things we don't even know about yet. So, um, as our show kind of continues to evolve and we kind of find the things that we enjoy doing, I'm sure we'll bring you that news and information as well. That being
Definitely.
that being said, if there aren't a lot of news related or newsworthy things to talk about, we will be going back to covering specific classes for you
Mm,
guys. We know that's really it's fairly popular. We get a pretty decent amount of views on our YouTube videos, so people like to get educated in those kind of things. So again, if there's something that you guys want us to cover, please tweet us. You can see the names right above us. If you're listening through Stitcher or iTunes, it's edge_BlizzProTV, or you can tweet us individually at Velice, Velice, and at a Merling, and that is spelled with a whole bunch of letters.
Hey,
AMEURLING, and those are our personal Twitters as well. Okay, you can email us too at edge@blizzpro.com, and we'll make sure to cover anything and anything you want us to cover, even if it's news related, WoW news related, beta related, um,
hopefully there's going to
whatever.
be a lot of beta related stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
excited.
we can, if we do get our hands on the beta, there's a very high chance that, there's a definite chance that BlizzPro, the company, will get a beta, Warlords beta. Now, whether or not her and I will get one of the betas is yet remain to be seen. So, but if we do, we'll make sure to stream that stuff. I can definitely have all the streaming stuff set up. I'm sure Alex can stream some stuff too if she wanted to. Um, and yeah,
Mm. Okay,
cool.
I say we're pretty much done.
Okay. Well,
What
lucky
say
us.
you?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess I'll get the music going and stuff. Anything you want to say before we roll out? Before whatever.
No.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, guys, that was episode number 11 of The Edge. We will be back next week. Who knows what we'll cover? I don't even know. She doesn't know.
We'll get back
We'll
to
figure it
you.
out. And if you haven't taken anything away, Twiz, it was a good run, buddy. 2 years. You did a good job about it. So, congratulations on you, Retrieved, and good luck with everything else. Guys, we're out. Take it easy.
Bye.